Welcome to this episode of the Horsemanship Journey podcast. My name's Shane Jacob, your host, and I thank you for taking your time to be here with me today. This episode is brought to you by Cowboy Cuffs. I'm sporting one of their shirts today. This particular one is unnamed, but I really like it. I didn't like it as much on the hanger as I like it wearing it. Anyway, appreciate Cowboy Cuffs. Elevate your style, elevate your life. Today, the topic is I want to talk a little bit about horses being together. You know, the thing about it is you see horses together in a group, turned out together, or you may see horses in a pasture in a group, and they look happy and it makes you feel good. And they're such social animals and they get along so well sometimes. The thing about it is a lot of times that you don't realize is that that peaceful scene you see of that group of horses came after a lot of contention of deciding who's who in the pecking order and what the social order is, and that can be pretty brutal sometimes. Horses, a lot of times they'll fight over feed, over resources, we'll call it, food and shelter. Or about just like allowing new horses to come into the group. They'll a lot of times stallions and mares are constantly having fights. Mares can be extremely hard on stallions. Stallions can be extremely hard on geldings. I find it interesting too that when I turn horses out together, one thing that I've noticed is in a group of horses just turned out here, like in our little turnout pen or arena or something, or in a pasture, usually, not always, unless you have a very aggressive horse, but most of the time when you bring a new horse into the group, the new horse is low man on the totem pole. The rest of them, even the one at the bottom, will move up a little bit. So that's kind of interesting to notice, and it's interesting to watch how they sort out who's who and who's going to be able to eat in what order and so on and so forth. It is we take a lot of caution when we put horses together because it's a risk. It's a very big risk, and horses being worth and valued with dollars as much as they are, it's a very big risk because getting injury is real. They can get seriously damaged. They could get kicked and break a leg, and mostly it's getting kicked. Usually the bites heal up, but there's a lot of that goes on too. And the same thing goes for transport. Even like in stalls in the barn, who a horse is next to, they'll constantly be trying to fight through the fence. And so one thing to note about this is that horses are usually better when they're supervised or when they're being ridden or being handled. Okay, usually they most of the time they'll set aside their social order when you come in and establish yourself as the leader, as the rider or the handler. It's interesting to note that kids sometimes they do the same thing. They don't act the same at home with their handler under supervision that they do as school. The thing of it is kids have a pecking order. They're kind of similar to horses in that way, and it happens all throughout into high school, and sometimes a little bit even as we get into being young adults. But bullying happens. Okay, bullying's a thing. It's a real thing, and most of the focus when we talk about bullying is the focus is on what to do. It's on total defense when your kid is being bullied is what most of the conversation is about, which is a good thing, right? Because we need to be aware. It's extremely important to be aware and be involved and see if your kid's isolating, see if they're acting depressed, see if something's a little wrong, and just be aware of what's going on. Extremely important. Get help from teachers and leaders. Document, sometimes tell somebody, just to have our kids talking to us so that we can do the best we can to try to protect them. We do need to have that defense sometimes. Report it to the authorities, like I said. Some strategies say to ignore the bully. Some strategies say to, tell them to stop, doing whatever it is that they're doing. I think it's a good strategy to unite against it. You know, if you can have other people in your circle that will, you know, I don't know what stand up to really means, other than fight back, but at least have, you know, attempt to have a group of people that um, will that will be against the, you know, the bad behavior, the bully. Uh, but these are good things. I did want to say that it is true that it is true that sometimes kids act different at home. When I was in sixth grade, my teacher was Mr. Thompson, and Mr. Thompson, bless his heart, didn't. Uh, I didn't recognize his authority the same way that I recognized my dad's authority, and so I tried to, you know, take advantage of his perceived weakness until one day he swatted me pretty hard across the face. And I was pretty well stunned, and I had one thought in my mind: I hope he doesn't tell my dad. Now, at this point, all these years later, I'm thinking he might have been thinking, he hopes I don't tell my dad or the principal or somebody like that. But, you know, I came back the next day. I'm not advocating to swatting people, but necessarily, but I came back the next day and that was the end of that. I mean, he had established his, in a ruthless kind of way, he established his authority, and it changed me as a sixth grader for the rest of that year. But anyway, that was another time. But the important thing here is bullying does happen, and it can take a toll. It can be a serious thing. Most of the focus is on defense, but here's what I want to talk about. Okay. Well, how about this before we go there? What if your kid's the bully? I mean, the bully's somebody. I mean, how are you going to feel about that? And how are you going to deal with that? I mean, at some level, that has to be okay. Let me clarify: not to be okay that what being a bully is okay, that it has to be okay that with you that that's happening, and it has to be okay that, you know, your kid has to be okay. What I mean is fixable. Okay. It has to be okay that that happened. It doesn't have to affect his long-term life value that he's having some bad behavior go on. And knowing that to start with helps you keeps you from avoiding it, right? And being embarrassed and all the things. It's not going to help you solve the problem, is what I'm getting at. So that's what I meant by having it be okay. Having it not take such a toll on you that you can't handle the situation and try to improve it and stop the bullying. But so where does it come from, and what are the answers? Now, my solution may not be popular. It may not be, I mean, this is kind of a bold statement, but here's what I honestly believe in, and I've seen it and I've experienced it, and this is why. I believe that there's two things that we're going to do that are going to have the biggest impact. Number one is to look at ourselves as parents. Okay. How are we showing up? What example are we setting? Are we showing up as confident, calm leaders? Period. Are we, yes or no? Because our kids, if we're going to ask them, I'm here to tell you that confidence is the best defense against bullying. Okay? Period. The best defense. When you show up to that school like I own this school, if your kids show up as confident, self-confident, walking straight, walking tall, the odds of them being bullied is going to go way down. Okay? So how do you create that? How do you help your kids have that confident feeling? And so really, what is confidence? First of all, let me backtrack. Like I said, this begins with the example you're setting. If they don't see you setting a solid example, they're going to have less want to, okay? Less try, less belief, less I think this is a good idea if you're not modeling it. So you're going to have the biggest influence, okay, in the whole process. So that needs to be number one, because it's so important, and the influence is always underestimated, how much influence that we actually have. Second of all, okay, can you go with the idea that the way things are is not the way things are? Here's what I mean. The fact that you feel a certain way and you think things are a certain way as far as your kids are concerned. So your kid says, well, I feel like he's bigger. He's, this, he's that. I'm shy. I'm this, I'm that. The first thing that you have to overcome is a belief that you can change your beliefs about yourself. Okay. If you can believe that you can change your beliefs about yourself, that they're not just the way that you think they are right now, that they're actually changeable and you get to decide who they are, is the first really step. Okay. So then it's like, well, how can you really build confidence in your kid? If this is a good defense, how do you go about getting it done? Okay. So let's just say, well, what is confidence to start with? Confidence is a feeling. Okay, it comes from what we're thinking, and most of the time we're not thinking consciously. We're just our brain feeds us thoughts that go through our minds, and we're just kind of reacting on them. We're just kind of more reactive. And particularly as kids, we're not, as young adults and teenagers, our brains aren't fully developed, we're not fully mature, and so we're not really aware of the thoughts, these fleeting thoughts that are causing us feelings. Confidence is a feeling that means that you're willing to feel anything. Confidence means that you're willing to feel anything. What do I mean by that? You're willing to feel fear. You're willing to feel discomfort. You're willing to feel uncomfortable. It means that you're willing to feel life and go through it. The opposite, okay, is fearful, timid, withheld, not willing to feel anything. That is really what the essence of the feeling of confidence is. So if you can accept the idea that what you believe about yourself matters, if you can accept the idea that you can choose what you believe about yourself, okay? And here's a question that I often ask, and you may have heard me ask, and that's this: what if you could believe anything that you wanted to about yourself? Okay? Because you can. What if you could? Okay? If you can go with this idea, then you can decide what it is that you want to be, what you want that to be. In other words, you can believe what you want to believe about yourself. You following me? You can choose the beliefs that you want to hold true about yourself. And then if you know how to develop beliefs and commit to that, to believe what you want to, then that is going to be your best defense above bullying. And I'm not trying to say that any of that stuff's on other things or on defense is unimportant. We do need to be aware and be involved in our kids' lives. We do need to report to authorities and really pay attention, because some of this can have such a negative and serious impact on our kids that we want to be on top of it. What I'm saying is that if we commit to ourselves and to help our kids develop solid, good, positive beliefs about themselves, the odds of this being a problem are going to go way down. It's not a perfect world, but they're going to go way down. So in stable living, the other thing is that this is also the best means to improve every aspect of your whole life, because our beliefs that we hold true to be that we believe to be true about ourselves impact everything, right? Have the biggest impact on what our results are going to be in everything in this lifetime. This is just such a fundamental and big deal, and a lot of times really just we don't have the awareness and the commitment to, or don't think it's important, and so therefore we miss out on a lot of goodness, that a lot of the things that are available to us in this lifetime. I'll say that. In stable living, we teach 6 tools or 6 solid skills that for this type of work to develop solid beliefs about ourselves. Okay, and so we don't have time to go into all 6 skills, and because they're at depth, and it's a process, right? To change beliefs and to develop beliefs. So today I'm just going to give you one that I've talked a little bit about before, but you've heard a little bit about, but I'm just going to kind of break it down and say this. The first step that you want to know, you want to model this for your kids, and you want to pay attention to your kids, and if they can go with you, you want to be aware of this and encourage them to be aware and to eliminate negative thoughts and words about ourselves, about themselves. So beginning with you, negative thoughts and negative words. Okay, so let's say what a thought is. A thought is a phrase or a sentence that goes through my mind. Okay, if I speak it, it's just a thought that I spoke. It's just a phrase or a sentence. We have thousands and thousands of them. Our brain feeds our mind thousands and thousands of thoughts every day. And thoughts, one thought creates one feeling. So we want to recognize negative thoughts and replace them with either neutral, at least, or positive thoughts if we can believe the positive thought. For example, if I make a mistake, if I do something if I just make a mistake, okay, what would I do? I spill my drink. Okay, I spill my Coke Zero all over my desk. That's my example. Okay, what I don't want to do is say, I'm such an idiot, I can't, keep shit together and go on and on and on. I don't want to say stuff like that about me because it has an impact. Okay, you may think that a lot of times we use this self-deprecating humor. We're making jokes about ourselves, saying how much we suck. Okay, and it's kind of funny, and it's interesting to be able to joke about yourself. But the thing about it is, um, it's having a repercussion on the other end. Okay, I'm telling you straight up, the negative thoughts, whether you're joking or not, remember what Shakespeare said: much truth is told in jest. Okay, and the things that we're telling ourselves is reinforcing beliefs that we don't want to have. All right, and so any negative talk that we hold, oh, I'm this and that, and oh man, I procrastinate, or I can't. Anything that starts with that. Seriously, do you really want to think that? Because you get to choose what you get to think. And that negative behavior, you're making it reality. Somewhere it's coming out and result in your life that's not helping you. It's not serving you. So how do you know what kind of language I'm talking about? Here's your measure. Here's how you know. Okay. If you catch yourself saying a thought or a thought going through your mind or saying, okay, thinking or saying a thought or that you wouldn't want to think or say about someone that you deeply care about, that you seriously love. If you wouldn't want to think or say it about them, don't be saying about yourself. Okay. That's how you get it done. That's number one. Just begin with that. Like I said, we teach 6 solid skills that if you practice them over a lifetime, it is possible to change what you believe, and we get to choose what we believe about ourselves. Start with that one. At least that puts you on a good track. It's the beginning. Okay, it's the beginning. So, hey, thank you so much for taking your time to join me today. There is a solution to bullying. This is the beginning. This best offense is better than a good defense. Appreciate you so much. Remember, you cannot fail if you don't ever stop chasing it.